Do you ever sit down, play a game, and think to yourself, God, I must have played every type of game there is by now? Do you know how fucking incorrect that statement is? It's surely a thought that comes up in my head rather often. I mean, can you blame me? With all the franchises that get annually puked out onto the market at E3s and such, it's easy to get blinded and forget about how diverse and original ideas games really are. It's made especially harder since these games don't get anywhere near as much attention as they should. And I'm not even talking about only small indie games here. Sometimes games published by huge studios get overlooked due to insufficient marketing or because they released really close to other big name games. Like what happened to Titanfall 2, for example. And like Titanfall 2, they might just be a Game of the Year contender. Sometimes, you really need that reminder. That really special game that makes you backtrack to that previous thought and go, damn, was I wrong! And I think the most recent example of such a game for me must be Mad Rat Dead. Mad Rat Dead is a rhythm-based platformer developed and published by Nippon Ichi Software, released in these regions on these dates on the PS4 and Nintendo Switch. I just happened to see my friend play this game on a Discord stream one week. I saw it and thought to myself, wow, it looks cool, I really want to play it. Then it hit me that I don't own either of the consoles the game is on. So, I had to resort to borrowing a Nintendo Switch and a copy of the game, all of which was done completely adhering to Polish copyright law. Also, if the footage stutters, that's because, the Switch bad. Before you can get into the game, you're presented with an enter your name prompt. I'm so great at naming things. I wonder if this game has good music. Okay, seriously now, even if the concept of a rhythm platformer doesn't arouse you at all, the soundtrack fucking will. 36 bass tracks with 6 unlockable ones, plus a bonus track in the official soundtrack, so 43 minus Mad Rat Dead Rap, since it's just the game's main theme is one of those YouTube I explain what the game is along with the beat of the song raps. So that makes 42 absolutely banging tracks in total. The OST sound seems to mostly revolve around electro swing, or so I think. But it's not afraid to be a little diverse. Like, there's this one trap-sounding song. 41 absolutely banging tracks in total. The soundtrack in its entirety was composed by DS Iwasaki, Camellia, A_Hiza, Yaoyama, Kazuya Takase, Yoshihiro Kawagoe, with minor contributions from Yongai Abushi, and Top Hamhat Kyo. Did I say any of that correctly? Anyway, here's some samples that don't include me talking over them. It's a really good soundtrack if you haven't caught that yet. I honestly consider it one of the best pieces of music to come out of a video game. It's just a shame NIS fucking hates humankind and happiness. They refuse to officially put out the full soundtrack anywhere outside of Japan for God knows what reason. Anyways, what's next? Oh, Human Eyesight. The game's art style is solid as all hell. Its razor-sharp cartoony nature, thick outlines, vibrant colors, and just how unique it all is makes me squeal and mad that this isn't something simple I can just recreate for a YouTube thumbnail. One look at the digital art book that comes with the heart-pounding edition of the game and it's like, duh! The cover of the art book is already oozing with style, and then you go down further and it's like, wow! I sure as hell may not know whatever the sounds I'm making are or what I'm talking about in this entire paragraph, but I know for a fact that this looks good. Mad Rat Dead's first impressions are some of the best I've ever felt in a video game in the past 5 years. Its whole presentation throughout is definitely up there with the big boys like Sonic Mania and Cuphead, and that's a really huge achievement. Though, Transformice did look better. 1 point for Transformice. So now that I'm done sucking the dick of this game's visuals and sounds, what's like the actual game? Well, it's a game that follows the story of a lab rat who just so happens to be the victim of a surgery gone wrong. The rat is given a second chance at life by the rat god, who wakes the rat up in Cheeseland or something, and lets him relive his final day to be able to fulfill his lifelong dream before really kicking the bucket. Before any of that though, the rat god plunges us into a tutorial, as Mad Rat proves himself a slow-ass motherfucker. The gameplay at its core is fairly linear. It's the old tried and true formula of going from start to finish in a level with a timer ticking down. The controls are basically Cryptid the Necro Dancer, but if it was a 2D side-scroller. You move around by performing actions to the notes present at the bottom of the screen, such as jumping, dropping down from midair, and most importantly, dashing. Dashing is important because Mad Rat's normal walk speed, as you saw earlier, is... You can extend your dash's length by moving in the same way that you're dashing and by charging your dash beforehand. You can also do a homing attack on nightmares, the game's common enemies, which look like... sorry, I zoned out for a second. Overall, all of this added up makes for some very fun movement. It's easily at its best when combined with songs that are around 150 BPM. Though I do have some gripes with it. It's not exactly the most flexible thing in the world. You're not really going to be pulling off any crazy stuff unless the game sets you up for it. And with the linearity of the stages combined with dashing, it sometimes feels like you're just moving along a predefined grid. And also, wall jumps and the homing attack feel clunky as fuck sometimes with the game's weird rules towards them. But you're constantly dashing and jumping around to the beat. And that's fun! Anyways, with movement out of the way, we're taught one last very important thing. How to rewind time. Whenever you run into an enemy, Mad Rat is placed in stasis and you are let to rewind time back a few beats to try and avoid your death. And as long as the time doesn't run out, you can do this infinitely. And thereafter, Mad Rat sets out to complete his dream of killing the human who experimented on him all his life. Mad Rat is a bit of a loose cannon. Initially, he comes off as this arrogant, self-centered asshole who's too focused on his own ambition to listen to words of reason. That's where the sentence ends, but at least he looks cool. As with the rest of the visuals, the character designs in this game look marvelous. Mad Rat especially. He's got eternally half-closed eyes, stitches on his body, a big chest hole with spikes, and what I would assume is a result of human-rat crossbreeding. He also has the unique trait of having another main character inside-ish him. Mad Rat's heart, who immediately starts talking to Mad Rat after he wakes up and only truly reveals himself in the third level of the game, is sentient. Heart is the only person that Mad Rat has to talk to. Heart opposes Mad Rat's dream of killing the human and thinks he's insane for wanting to do so. But despite that, he supports and cheers on for Mad Rat tirelessly in his journey, while mocking him in the "Aw, you're a big guy" way. Don't make the comparison, And the only remaining main character left to talk about is the aforementioned Rat God. Rat God is, as the name implies, god of the rats. She doesn't really do all that much except appearing sometimes to say Mad Rat followed the cheese. But here's a fun fact about her. She's free tall. And that's not even standing straight. Now, you might be saying, you know, you're great at ruining surprises. And also, it's Harrazel. The first time I played this game, I was absolutely taken aback by everything it threw at me. The sheer uniqueness and pure fun of the game sucked me in and made me happily stick around till the end. On the second playthrough though, I realized something. Nippon Ichi Software, the studio that made this game, is primarily known for their RPGs. This was the first time Yu Mizukami, the game's designer, had tried making an action platformer. It really shows. Now, don't get me wrong, everything I said before about the gameplay is still true. It's fun to move around with Mad Rat, even if movement's a little limited. But fun movement doesn't compensate for level design. The stages in this game range anywhere from to but practically all levels suffer from a plethora of common problems, such as shit popping out of nowhere, the game not telegraphing shit being thrown at you, Sonic Syndrome. All of those are synonymous with each other. Now, you may be saying, "You fucking idiot retard YouTube guy, if you die you can literally rewind to right before your death, brain dead ass motherfucker." And yeah, you would be right on that one. What I just described doesn't really make the game unfairly hard or anything like that. The game is already quite easy in general. I don't think there's ever been an instance where I personally ever fell under the timer and lost, so yeah. It's not anywhere near a game-ruining problem, but getting hit by something you couldn't predict was coming is still rather irritating. Again, Sonic Syndrome. Most of the stages aren't even all that memorable anyway. I understand that creating completely different looking environments with the same theme can be quite hard. The artist was probably abused enough in the workplace as it is, they should be given a rest. But it doesn't change the fact that a lot of these levels blend together and hardly try to distinguish themselves. A great example is pretty much all the levels that take place in the forest. If you kidnapped me, tied me to a chair in some creepy ass basement, showed me 5 stills from these stages and told me to point out which ones were the same level, I would probably be able to find my next video script in a library of Babel faster than I could answer correctly. The stage gimmicks aren't any saving grace either. When just multiplies the shit is too fast for me to know this problem by 10 times. The baseballs... I think that was a bit too intense for the Switch. God damn you, simple real-time physics! Now, Transform Mice. That game had excellent levels and didn't break consoles. Probably because it was never on any. Add 1 to the score. The game also has a really fucky difficulty curve. Here's the ideal-ish difficulty curve, and here's Mad Rat Dead. Wait, the scales is all fucked up. There. The game gets disproportionately difficult at the end out of nowhere. Now instead of getting S ranks on average, I got A's. Really hard. And then at the final boss, the game actually gets difficult. Which sounds great, but it's mostly because the game forces you to do shit like this. Oh yeah, and you're also forced to do this to the hardest and most chaotic song in the game. Which is banging, but it's a bitch to platform along to. But at the end of the day, this difficulty spike is nothing but a minor inconvenience. It just makes you have to attempt the boss like 2 more times. I know, frightening. But if you're one of those people who absolutely despises games that don't threaten you with a knife to the lung every 5 seconds, the game has a solution for this little difficulty problem. Once you beat any stage for the first time, you can go to the level select and replay it on hard mode.
What does hard mode do?
It takes songs from the game and adds red notes to them. Red notes are these sort of double notes that require you to hit a backbeat and then the note to perform an action. Keep in mind, the input you give on the backbeat doesn't matter, just the note itself. And how is hard mode? Anguish. Yeah, this is just sensory overload for me. On normal mode, this bar down here is more like a get adjusted to the beat thing and then go on your merry way, focusing on your movement instead while still sometimes switching up the beat to keep you on your toes. On hard mode, this thing down here requires your full attention while still having to platform around. And what does hard mode look like on the final boss? Yeah, good luck beating that. I'm sure that this is the best way of playing the game for the same kind of people who love displacing their wrists to music. After all, hitting red notes is the most satisfying fucking activity in video game history. But for me, it's a mode I always think about beating, but never will. But hey, maybe you're on the other side of the spectrum. Maybe you're not really all that good at keeping rhythm and keep dying over and over and over and over and falling under the timer. Why not disable the only fail condition in the game? This is actually a fairly recent addition to the game, coming in update 1.0.3 for Japan and 1.0.2 for everywhere else. Which is weird because 1.0.3 and 1.0.2 are the same update, but the version numbers aren't just standardized across regions for some reason. I've never seen something like this. I'm genuinely wondering why it's this way. Anyways, yeah, you can disable the timer. As far as I know, it disables you getting your score at the end of the stage. I wouldn't know, I never tried it. But hey, maybe if you're the kind of person who loses their shit over the monkey golf stage in Rhythm Heaven, you might want to consider turning it off. But then again, at that point, why would you even get the game in the first place? Which brings me to my final point. Why isn't this game on PC? No, like, actually, why? It's not like it's exclusive to any one console or anything. Look, my main reason of saying this isn't even entirely because I'm a video game girl! I literally am borrowed a Switch and legally acquired a copy of the game so I could play it. It's no big deal. No, it's because, like, just imagine the mods for this game. Literally pop this game on Steam with some workshop support and bam, custom music, bam, custom stages. These are things this game especially could benefit from greatly. And yes, I'm aware that a PC port doesn't automatically equal modding support. But it's not far from it either. Unless this shit is hard baked into the game, which it probably most likely definitely isn't, it shouldn't be all that hard to mod it. I know you could say this for any game out there, but whenever I think of Mad Rat Dead especially, I can't help but wonder every time how things would be with it running on a home computer. And I think that's all I had to say about Mad Rat Dead. In conclusion, the game, despite how critical I've been for the past 1238 words, is still a wonderful time. It has extremely charming visuals and characters, one of the best soundtracks I've heard in recent times, from a video game especially, and underneath all that, there's a flawed but still really fun game. Let me put it in a way like this. Mad Rat Dead is a barely above average platformer, but an amazing and satisfying to play rhythm game. And I think that in the end, the rhythm part easily compensates for what the game lacks in platforming. I mean, honestly, most of the problems I listed in this video are things I noticed when thinking about the game in retrospect. And as the old saying goes, people tend to be most critical of the things they love. Unless that thing is Patapon free. Or malaria. I think that if the rocky difficulty and stages got a tad bit more attention during development, this game could have very well ended up as the best game I've played this year. But the ifs won't change my final opinion about it. Tally them up! Alright, so... let's give Transformice a pity point because it is an indie game. And would you look at that? Transformice wins the Best Rodent Game Award. Fuck you, Mad Rat! Happy birthday. Oh wait, I'm late by 5.